All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the North Carolina Museum of Art. This afternoon, we have collaging with Masani Landfair. Before we get started, I'd just like to say we're going to be recording this class. So any of you guys who are following along, if you're having a hard time keeping up or anything, don't worry. We're going to send you a copy of everything in the next couple of days. I'll be sending links out to that once it's posted. Also, I have posted Mashani's email address in the chat. For part of this class, Mashani is going to be sending out a packet to anybody who wants. If you guys want that packet, I would ask that you email her and just let her know, so she has your email address, because she doesn't necessarily have the class's email addresses. You guys can also email me directly. My email is at the bottom of the link you guys use to get into the class, and I will pass your email along to Masani. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce Masani. I'm super excited to have Masani here joining us today for this demo. Masani is from Chicago, but she practices now mostly in Georgia. She's shown all over, but especially in the Southeast. Recently, she showed at the Museum of Science and Industry, and she was a first place winner in the Black Creativity Contest there. She showed at the Zhao B Center 33 Contemporary Gallery and Prism Art Center, or Art Fair recently. So we're super lucky that she's decided to come join us and do this demo today. And without any further ado, Masani, you ready to take it over?
Sure.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, great. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the class. I'm gonna be off camera the first part of this, and then on camera. I'm usually behind the scenes anyway, so. My name is Masani Landfair. As Oliver said, I'm from Chicago, born and raised, and newly moved to northern Georgia in the Cherokee County area. Because of the pandemic, I'm more in Georgia than going back and forth. I've practiced my work since I was little, but professionally for 25 years. I mainly do collage, mixed media, sculpture, photography, and film. And lately it's been more collage and large installations. The majority of my work is made of found materials. The glue, the tape, maybe the archival paper I use is new majority of time, but everything else I either find, repurpose, thrift, or it's given to me, hand down in some form of fashion. So today, what I'm going to be focusing on will be abstraction, environmentalism, and how to use your work, your practice, whether it's on a hobby level, professional level, to be calm and create a space of mindfulness when you're working. And also, I want this to be very open. If you have a question in the middle of something, please turn on your mic and ask. If you're working as I'm working and you have a question, feel free to ask. A friend of mine named Tam, she's an artist and food scientist, and those two things do work together really well. We would do meets on FaceTime so that we can work and practice together and end up spending more than 6 hours at a time just talking and working together. So that's the kind of feeling that I would like to have here, where everybody is just relaxed. Get you some tea, get you a drink, whatever you prefer, and let's create. Is there any questions right now? Okay. And also, Oliver mentioned the packets. I would like to, if you would want, send each person that's participating a packet of frags. I had started preparing these just to send out. And then I was like, oh, this would be cool to send to people participating. So just send me an email, and I will put your address and everything on it and send it out to you. So I have a lot of projects. We may not get through all of them, but I basically want to do different styles of projects to show different techniques, different ways of reusing and repurposing materials, and bringing like a meditative energy to, well, explaining how I meditate through doing my work. Especially in these times when a lot of things are going on, it helps me calm down. So these are some examples of pieces that are in progress. This is a leaf that I found probably in Chicago, and it's gone through different transformations. So once it was all together, then I cut it up, put it in a piece, and then I took it apart, cut it up again. So now this is probably where it's gonna stay, and I'm just gonna keep adding around. The material is from packaging from different sources. These came off of flowers where they used the plastic to tape it. This piece, like that, for you, yes. This is the tops from plastic containers, and I just love the pink color. And I'm testing these out to make sure that they stay. Because I used this glue. This is a glue I've been using for about 30 something years. You can find it at any art supply store online. It's a book binding glue, but it's also good for wood, aspects of glass, tile, and plastics. Plastics is a little tricky when using this glue though. Sometimes you have to staple or tape to secure. So with this plastic here, I've had it on here for about 6 months, and I will wait probably another 6 months before I start using it more to make sure that the glue will last and that it won't deteriorate or start to peel or fall apart. And as you can see, it's pretty stuck on there. And the image is found from an old magazine. And this is an example of when you go to the store and you have all those stickies and pieces. You can use them for texture. And I'll give an example if I can find it quick. I don't have the example right here. What I usually do is do an oil pastel on top of this in layers, or paint, acrylic mainly. And it will save it from going into a landfill, one. And then two, it will give texture in a very unique way. So just piling on. I like to go to the thrift stores just piling on different tags and stickers, and then you paint over it, and they'll give you texture. And usually if I paint over it, it starts to get cut up and used in different ways, sort of like this, where I just started combining tape and doing different textures. But I leave the tape bare. So I'm gonna start with this project. I taped it up already.
Excuse
I don't
me,
use.
could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
This is Sharon. Is there any way you could share your screen? Or maybe I'm doing something wrong because you're just like one little square and I can barely see it. It's like, I think if you go down to share screen, I'm no expert, but I just need to have it larger.
Larger. I'm not sure. Ollie.
Go down to the bottom of shares and share the screen. So you
Yeah,
would, we would be seeing you, what you're showing.
I think you just have to go on speaker view instead of gallery view. At the,
Okay.
I think so, because yeah, it's pinned where you should be able to just see me.
Oh,
Can you see me now?
I
can
thank you.
see him. Can you pin him, Sharon? Can you pin him? Because I can see what you're asking to see.
Yeah, I went to speaker view and I went to full screen. Okay, no, alrighty. Thank you. I'm sorry because I was like, I could not see his name. Alrighty.
Great. So I want you to be able to see. Okay. So this is, I don't use this stuff, but it reminded me of my childhood with ginger ale and crackers. That was the heal all when you got a flu, you know. I just have the vapor rub as a display, but I use the box to create different little collages. So I sealed up the top here, and then I use archival paper to wrap it up. Even though I like using found materials, I'm really picky about when I'm creating a piece that it has a good backing to it. Some people use cardboard straight. I would have to do a matte finish on it so that it's protected. The artwork on top is protected from erosion. So this is a smaller bottle of the PVA glue. Now, some people use brushes and I can do that. I sometimes use my finger and I know that's not great. I started making these little boxes a few years back, and I have a small collection of them that I usually display together, or sometimes individually if it's a show that just asks for, you know, one or two. And just secure it. And with PVA glue, you don't have to use a lot. Whatever choice of glue you use, you don't have to use a lot based on thicker paper. Now, if it's thin magazine paper, you want to use less so that you won't get the bubbles. And also use, I'm not sure what they're called because I usually just use my hands, but something to spread it out, smooth it out as you go. Now I pre-made these little edges. I don't think I probably made enough to go on the sides to cover it completely. And also I practice either in silence or watching documentaries. I don't like to have a lot of noise, except for my teenage son. And not all the time practice with music. Now, I'm planning to wrap this completely. I'm going to use tape. I like this filler tape that has the strings in it. Another thing about my practice is that I like things that are, I like things that bring connectedness. So staples, nails, tape, glue, things of that nature are much a part of the process of the piece as they are as far as binding them. These are some collages that I've cut up, and I'm fascinated with 2 by 2 inch squares. I've done large pieces, small pieces with them. They become like little miniature pieces, but they tell a story. And I'm just gonna put them all around the box, and then there'll probably be more layers of tape and such in the end. A lot of times I start on pieces and I might finish them the next day. I might finish them 6 months later, maybe years. But in that moment, that's what it's calling me to offer. So I complete it. And I'm using thick amounts of glue because I'm taping it to plastic. And sometimes it requires the thickness will help it stay longer and not slide around. So you can use different size boxes. You can use, like I said, cardboard. You can use circular, like oatmeal containers, and repurpose them into work, whether it be for personal, for craft, or for fine art. And I want to leave this space open. And then what I'll probably do, getting camera angles, is put tape and paper collage through the centers so they'll fill up more, and leave this space open because I like the way the texture in the red looks. So this is just an idea of what you can do with material, like if you looking to do something different, or the way art supply prices are, you can use materials like this to create work. Was there any questions about that piece, or comments or suggestions or anything like that? I'm going to move on to a larger piece. This is archival paper. It's a cardstock, but it's not as thick as I would really like, but it's good enough for a starter. You can always buy a board, archival board, and put it on top of that. This is 8 by 10. And I was digging for the past couple of weeks through frags. Frags are fragments. It was a term that I learned while I was with a group called Global Artists Project based in San Francisco. And we would send each other frags or fragments of things to use in our work. And the only thing was you had to acknowledge where you got the frags from, and that it was a GAP or Global Art Project work. So I was going through different stuff and picking out pieces that I felt energetically would work together. Sometimes there's no picture in mind. It's just knowing that somehow these pieces will fit together. And I call it a puzzle with no picture. They just form. So I got this piece, which I'm confident that I want to glue down. So when it's edges like this, I don't like to use the brush. I just use my finger. And I don't mind getting glue because I'm going to cover the whole page. If I didn't, I would use another board. I didn't get quite over as I want, so I'll just cut that edge when the time comes. And this is again where I've created a collage, cut it up, created a collage, cut it up. It's kind of like I create my own palettes of paint through frags. This is a plastic bag, which I think works really well with texture under tape. I like to save the tape off of packages if I have to order something and repurpose them. And this is a 2x2 collage that I did a long time ago with acrylic paint on the top there. I'll probably use tape to fill in the gaps. One thing I've learned is it's important to get the edges more than anything when you're gluing down a piece. And the more you spread it, the more it won't bubble. I'm using a lot because it's a thicker piece, but if it's like, again, a thin piece of paper, just use a thin amount of glue or adhesive. Another good source of materials, and this is for people who are in the session that are new to collaging. People who have done collages for a period of time know that they can use any type of materials. But another good source of materials is old books. Local libraries usually discard old books from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and they've deteriorated and patinaed in a way to a nice brown color. Sometimes they're cloth bound, which is a great material to work with. And the pages on the inside turn a nice yellow. I use a lot of books in my work, so I usually cut them up and use the pages in my collages. But also use the binding. When I first saw these pieces and putting them together, the first thing that was coming to me was being trapped in space or being lost in space, being confined and not having some place to come out to. A lot of people live their lives in that same fashion on Earth now. And I just wanted to create a piece that kind of looked at that isolation. Not so much our pandemic isolation, but the general isolation that people experience. I started doing collages with my grandmother when I was little. And she would break out the family circle, house and garden, magazines. And then I started just playing around with it on my own. So I haven't found a piece that fits here yet. So it's probably going to be continued to be worked on, and then filling these areas because they feel exposed to me. And when you look down on it, it looks like you're going into the cell or enclosure. And when you look up at it, straight away it's about the same. The dimensions still carry. And the abstract aspects of it is, can be interpreted by the individual as they please. I've gotten a lot of different responses to my work that all feel accurate based on that's the person's interpretation, but they also deliver enough of what I'm trying to say where the person gets it. And that's very a blessing to be able to get the thought and idea across in your work. So any questions on this piece or comments or ideas or?
Yeah, do you think about, that's beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's gorgeous. Do you think about your composition or what you want to say before you start working on your collage?
It's 50-50.
Okay.
It's literally digging through the materials, and they kind of come and jump out. Like when I was picking these, I didn't know this would happen. I just knew that these would form together in some fashion. I did do a practice before we started.
Oh,
And when
yeah.
I saw this connect, I was like, oh, okay, this is great. So, but I didn't know what was going to happen here. And I could dig through stuff and see what I think may fit.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, I could put that there,
Right.
but it's just, it doesn't connect to
Right.
the cell. It kind of goes into a void.
Yeah.
And this might work because it fits into the Jupiter swirls. And I have a larger piece of this that could be used.
Yeah.
And then going back into the binding again, but that's still, it doesn't connect to the closing in the space.
Okay.
So sometimes, like I said, it takes a day, sometimes
Okay.
it takes months, a year. But I don't have a, for every piece, I don't like, okay, I'm gonna have the composition this way.
Okay.
It just kind of forms.
And then just one more question is that,
Sure.
do you either ahead of time or while you're doing it, when you're doing the art, do you tend to think about like a conceptual look towards it or an artistic look towards it? Like now I know for this one you were talking about isolation. Do you ever do it just purely for the artistic design aspect of a collage, or it usually has a concept?
That's a good question. I think when I make earrings and I make bookmarks, that's my, I'm a Libra, so it's just like, oh, that's pretty.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
So with stuff like that, that I know I'll give as gifts or
Yeah.
things of that nature. But when it comes to certain work, larger work, installations, it's always based on the concept of some social, environmental,
Okay.
class issue.
Got you.
It helps me process what's going on in the world. So
Okay.
sometimes without thought, I did a piece in 2019. I had no clue
Right.
of anything. And it literally was like, I found this 1950s book with a sheep herder in it.
Yeah.
And I just put, some red, white, and blue around it and styrofoam.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I named it 2020.
Oh, that's great.
And I was just like, I didn't plan that. So yeah, it's with
Yeah.
those works, it's always it's up there, always based on something emotional, spiritual, social.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, keep doing it the way you're doing it because it's working. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So the next little project that I want to work on is just making these type of little books. This paper was sent to me by an associate, and it has a nice fading on it. And I've been looking at it as a book, but I didn't know exactly what. So this will be just me. I do have some fragments that I chose that will work, dealing with movement, ellipticals, and air. So the first thing is I'm going to staple, if I can get in the center, and I can't, so just fold it. I'm sorry for the movement of the camera. So 2 will do. Sometimes I like to work with cloth on these books, but I'm just going to do paper today. So I take a lot of pictures of clouds. Where I live is in the foothills, so we're kind of high up, and we get really great big sky country type cloud movements. But I don't want to put it there. When you're working on abstract work, do not be pressured in the abstract. It's more like a flow and a movement, an emotion. Even when you're working with papers and fragments, I personally have a hard time painting abstract or drawing abstract because I get very centered in that it has to be something. But when it comes to ephemera and things of this nature, I let loose. But if you feel like it's painting abstract is intimidating for me. So like if you feel that it's intimidating to just grab papers and it doesn't look right, there's no look right. It's about a feel right and what you feel inside of you connecting. And it takes practice to unlearn what you've been taught, even in art and abstraction, and find your own path, which is very important, to find your own path and signature in this work. You can be influenced, but it's more satisfying when you have your voice within your work.
I've got a quick practical question. How do you organize the materials that you save so that you can find things that work together when you're looking for them, and it's not just an enormous pile of materials?
Good question again. I'm a neat freak, so I have to have it in containers, and I work from home, so I don't have a studio at this current time. I had to let go of my Chicago studio, and I try not to collect a lot, but it's inevitable. I keep them in containers, such as if I find non-plastic containers like this, then I can hold materials on larger ones. I have totes that have a lot of the larger materials I find. But for like small pieces like this, unfortunately, I have to use Ziploc bags to contain them. For the space, if I had more space, I would probably use some type of drawer. When I get my next studio, I plan to get one of those tool container things that you see at the hardware store that the guys use in the garages. but I want to get a black one, and all the little drawers would contain frags that connect by any association, color or size, etc. And plus they look cool and they have a little workspace on top that you can work on. So I want to get one of those. So the best thing to do is try to keep everything that is like together. I kind of remember a lot of my materials, so I don't have to go searching for them. I know where they're at and I know what I have. And it's a lot, but I do remember pretty much 90% of all my materials that I have on hand. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And I love the tool idea. I love those drawers too.
Yeah, they're so cool. I mean, they look cool too. And they're, I can also put, actual tools, paints and stuff like that in there too. But I don't want a red one. Okay.
I have a question with those are photographs that you have taken?
This one I did take, the clouds.
Now,
These are, I'm sorry?
How do you print them? You just print them out on regular paper, not on, photography paper?
Right, on regular paper. I have a printer that I use. So sometimes I just send in an order for prints.
That's a great idea. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting to a point where I'm using my own photography versus images found. Because I take a lot of pictures, so it's like they should be put to use.
Right, it makes it more personal.
Yes. So this is just the base, because I already see that I want to add more layers to this. And then here's the magazine paper, which is very thin. Got to work quick. And it'll probably be some bubbles. I personally don't mind it, the texture, but some people are very picky about it being bubbly, but the paper is also warped, so it's not going to be flat. So ideally, this much glue. Just spread it thinly. I'm also very not rough, but rough with my work, unless it's something that's very detailed. I'm not concerned about it being a certain way. And these I found from an old Colombian, I think, encyclopedia. It had a lot of great images in it.
May I ask a question about your images?
Sure.
And this may sound sort of like a trite question, but when you find great images like that, in, say, in an encyclopedia, are you tempted to scan and store them, or just use it and let it go? I mean, that's one thing I kind of struggle with.
I just got into the idea of reusing them. And it's weird to me because I'm like you. I feel like I found it at that moment. It's for that, and that's it. It's like having nice words with a stranger on the street and you'll never see him again. It's like it served that moment. But then I see people using images, the same image in multiple works, and if it's a series, I think it works. If it's a signature, I think it works. But generally, I just use it the one time and let it be.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Have you started thinking about scanning, or?
Yes, and a friend I work with scans everything and saves it. And I just don't have the patience, I guess, but then I don't use the image. I'm scared to use the image because then it'll be gone, gone. So
Right.
I just kind of struggle with that a little bit. But
yeah, letting go of certain images, certain papers, I hold on to for that right moment. But generally, I've learned to use the image if it works for that piece and be at peace with it.
yeah, that helps. Thank you so much.
No problem. I know there's some stuff I'm like, no, I'm never using it. There's certain papers, packing papers I've found that I can't find anymore. And I just said, I got to use it. I have a roll of tape. It's a really great piece of tape. I know I've had it over 25 years and I still haven't found the thing that it's for. So I think it's okay to have those special things. I'm not sure how these are going to fit in there, but I'm feeling them, but I'm not sure. And they're probably going to have to be cut down to fill in. But I've done books like this, and I'll just show another example. This one to save the styrofoam that came in the packaging. I used the old book paper and tape in the center. And I'm going to put images on the pages. And then one just out of plastic. And the packing tape that I was telling you about, this is what I went into. So art books can be made out of any type of material, any type of found material. It's, keeps it out of the landfill, as I said before, and it's also cost effective. And it lets you, it really tests your range in your work to see what you could do next. So this is a little book. And I'll finish working on that one.
I have a question with the book. Would you ever like add more dimension to it? Like, stack things on top and maybe have found objects on top of a, piece of paper to add more dimension to something like that?
Sometimes. I really like it being flat. My mixed media work or sculptures tend to allow me to do that depth and height with embellishing it or pushing it out there. But with the books, I love reading. I have a high respect for books in general, just books. So I like them flat, and I like them to be kind of, even though these are found materials, to be as smooth as possible. It's not something I wouldn't consider. It's just depends on the concept and what I'm working on. So I'm not going to work on these, but these are finished bookmarks. They can come in different sizes, different materials, and it's usually a lot of my leftover materials. And I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of the person who asked earlier about concept versus just putting things together that look nice together.
Linda.
Linda, thank you.
Yeah.
They do have a feel that they have a concept. Sometimes they're taken from larger collages that I just cut up because it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's more about texture and detail. This is electrical tape.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And duct tape. Can't really see it from here. And on the back is clear tape with black paper. And I always like to send them to friends that I know read a lot.
But the colors are so cool also. I don't know if you typically use this color scheme, but the colors are really great.
Yeah, I was just speaking earlier to Oliver, and I was saying that the 30s and the 70s brought some really great colors.
Okay.
They were these, I can't remember the word he said, and I can't think it's like monochrome type colors. They're bold, but they're muted and rich.
Right.
Especially from like the 1930s and 40s. The greens, the olives, the burgundies. And then, I'm a child of the 70s, so yeah. A lot of those colors stayed with me.
Oh yeah.
Burnt orange, avocado.
Oh yeah.
So the last piece is a postcard size piece, which I've been making a lot of these over the last 9 years. These are kind of my daily practice, meditative pieces that what you asked, Linda, they kind of come from a more mixture of the concept and what looks good together. But they're kind of more free flowing in the concept area
Okay.
than the it looks pretty area.
Yeah.
But they help get me through the day.
Yeah.
So I have these frags selected. These are pieces that I have photographed. So this is on film paper of my work. Actual collage that was cut up. This is a print of a collage that I sold, and I liked it a lot. And I said I would use it as something else. The little Polaroids that they have. And so intuitively, I'm just going to go through and see what goes together for this piece. And I would recommend doing that as an exercise of just finding random scraps and fragments and putting them together without thinking too much about it. So. This picture, which I'll show like that, I found some time ago in a thrift store, like a neighborhood thrift store. And they were going to, it was in the garbage, the original picture. And I scooped them up. Because they would have been gone. And it makes me think about how many images that we've lost due to a form of negligence from people not really looking at what they were.
Masani, while you're doing that, have you ever had any experience with soul collaging?
I'm sorry, what kind?
Soul collage?
Can you explain?
It was first, I think it's something from the 70s or 80s. Sina Frost was the psychologist that developed it. And it was like picking images, just going through magazines and National Geographic and picking pictures that really resonated with you and spoke to you. And you collage these pictures and you have, it's almost like a set of tarot cards or angel cards, but they're cards that you can use and actually meditate upon them. And like it's like a power animal or your ancestors that might come through and give you messages. It's a whole technique, but I thought because of your collaging interest, that might
I love
be
that
something.
idea.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And it's called Soul, like SOUL, Soul Collage.
Soul collage. And Frost is the psychologist that first developed it. She used it with her clients.
That makes sense, because that's what it feels like. Like doing this right now is therapeutic in terms of it's very vulnerable to share on a scale, but it's also very therapeutic to commune.
Yeah, I can see that being like an ancestor of possibly that is there to guide you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this little picture of her, and I have no clue who she is. I was just glad that I was able to rescue it, and I feel that connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. I will definitely look it up. Oh, on a health note, when you're cutting, because I hurt my hand cutting, try to find really good scissors that are comfortable, or use a band, because sometimes the paper is thick and it will strain your hands. I don't want anybody else to go through that. So here she is. And there'll probably be some more I'll put over here. But I think it's kind of finished. Yeah, it'll be some more stuff here and here. But that's the finished product.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And that's pretty much it. Think about what you want to use. Like I said, I have tapes that I use. This is the glue. I'll use this one that I use this way. Find your own that works best for you, though, because you may not like the way it works. This is the little box that we started off with. They'll probably have some more embellishments. The book, we'll definitely keep working on that. And then this collage, we'll keep working on that. So if you have any further questions, I'm sorry, I'm going to look in the chat real quick. Thank you, Ben. Is it Benda? Thank you.
Yes, yes, really.
Okay. I appreciate that.
If no one has a comment right now, I was gonna say, is it hard for you to like walk down the street and not collect stuff?
Oh,
I would think you'd be like, I would be always like picking up stuff.
let me get this, because that's the only way I'm gonna be able to explain it. When I was in Chicago, you know, the infrastructure is much more vast and there's light poles all over the place. And I loved picking up these metal sticks that I think go into the filler around the wiring or something.
Yeah,
And they rust perfectly and they're nice little long
yeah.
pieces. And when I got to Cherokee County, I'm like, there's not much going on here to find stuff.
Yeah.
And I started finding them again,
Oh.
which is not good for the infrastructure, but I love finding these. And then, like I said, here it's like in Chicago, back in the day, when they had Maxwell Street, and it was the one that had lasted from the 20s, and you could find any and everything. That's where I learned to start using stuff in my work. My grandfather taught me too how to repurpose things.
Oh.
We would go walking, find stuff, you bring it home, fix it, and we would have a chair, things like that. But if I'm in the city, I can't drive past an alley without looking. It's not good. And yeah, I'm always looking to the ground to see if I see something.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Hey, Masani, I got a question for you. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you, how do you once you finish a piece, how do you archive it?
Okay. I document it. I photograph it from different angles. I document the size and everything. I have it in a file. And then I put it in a portfolio, archival portfolio. I don't have a space for a flat file at this time. If it's a sculpture piece, I package it like I would be shipping it. And the smaller works, I just keep in, well, these are all in progress. So they'll probably be finished. These are blank ones and these are blank ones, but these are all in progress. And I put them in these archival bags and then put them in an archival box. But I would implore everyone to document your process, document the materials you're using, photograph them, and then have them in some type of file system. There are systems that you can pay for that are very useful if you don't want to be on the computer all day, or create a simple, like this is 2021, put all your 2021 work in that folder. And make sure you have a template to make your certificates of authenticity so that you can just go right to them when you're working or selling a piece or working on a show.
Hey, Masani.
Yes.
I was wondering also, how much time a day do you usually devote to making art?
You mean time of night? I try to do at least 15 to 20 minutes a day. Like if I have mother duties, house duties, things of that nature, I get my time in. And then on a regular basis, I try to do at least 2 to 3 hours a day. And then sometimes it's just full out days where I'm just straight working for a project or for personal reasons. I'm working. So it varies, but I do try to do at least 20 minutes. And even if that's writing out ideas, going out specifically to take pictures, things of that nature. I try to do at least 20 minutes.
I got one last question for you from the chat. And that was, some people were wondering if they could see some of your bookmarks that you make.
Where did I put them? These are in progress. I started making these little ones to send for people who have, date books. But these are the sizes that I usually make, the big ones. I don't have them on a site or anything yet. I might put some on an Etsy, my Etsy shop, because I put earrings on there. I've been making earrings since I was a teenager, so it's just something I like to do.
And
I
was also wondering, so generally, how do you find places that you exhibit work and show work?
It's kind of a couple of ways. At this point in my career, I'm asked to join or be a part of different shows. I do submit work to shows, and then there are people who recommend me for shows. So it's mostly I get asked to do projects at this point, but it's a mixture because I like venturing out and working with different people that I respect and like what they're doing and their style. Yeah, so it's a mixture. Do we have any further questions? I miss you.
And I got one last one from the chat.
Okay.
So when you were starting out, how did you find shows or exhibits, like in the very beginning?
Oh, that's a good one. I applied to different shows in the beginning. I, at a point, created my own shows. So I started in the 90s, the late 90s, showing. And around 2004, that's when I won first place with the, I'm sorry, we're done. Hold on one second. Now you can see me. Hi. So during that time, I had gotten married and I stopped working for about 5 years on work. And then got back into it by applying to shows around Chicago, like the Southside Community Arts Center. I started working with different groups. And then I got into a show at the Joby Arts Center in 2010 or 2011. And that's when it just began to be perpetual, like doing different shows. But mostly I applied. I didn't know people, and I didn't try to. I just, if I felt good about a venue or an exhibition theme, an idea, then I applied. Thank you, Sherry. And Elizabeth, thank you. Brad, thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate all the comments. And remember, if you want the packet, just message me your address and I'll send those out within the next 2 weeks or so.
What's the name of your Etsy store?
In Masani Landfair.
Okay.
And I'll have some new stuff up soon.
Okay.
And you guys can also, if you guys want to just email me directly, I'll pass you guys along Mashani's email address, of course.
Okay.
Or actually, you know what? I'll just send it out to everyone and you guys will have it. How's that?
Oh, that's great.
You guys have it no matter what. That's a lot easier. That way I don't have to forget. All right. Is that about wrap it up, or you guys?
Great, thank you so much. It was very interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
All right.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Lovely work.